So what active balance is an eclectic system that incorporates everything that's natural, and we've tried and tested it out and researched it and put it all in one place.
People are walking around with so many injuries and not feeling regulated, and I think this modality really helps people to find that there is a way to help yourself.
So the school that had so many bestowed on us, the Menkyo Card Teaching Rights, is a school of self-preservation. So it's not a self-defence school, it's defence of the self by understanding the body and incorporating these processes.
I think you have to have that feel in yourself and embody it to want to do more.
And that empowerment actually shows that the body is self-regulatory, and we can actually take charge of that and understand some of the symptoms we've got. The cause is always misalignment, energy leakage, postural integration, and that's what this really addresses well.
Got no words. It was just amazing. It was like I could feel like drainage coming out through the lymphatics in the neck. I felt like I could breathe better.
But even as a self-help protective mechanism for your own family, it's invaluable. You know, I've used it on my family all my life, and people who've learned the system, they use it on theirs, and they've now got a family system.
Welcome everyone. Today we've got Dennis, the founder of Active Balance, and Rochelle, a yoga teacher and now Active Balance instructor, who's been guiding us over the sessions the last few weeks. So I thought a good place to start was just a little bit about Active Balance, the system that we've developed, the levels that we've developed, and how it can help anyone at any age, any ability, and basically for well-being and alignment.
Yeah, well, it's a system. I've been in this profession for 50 years of experience and studied many things: chiropractic, osteopathy, anatomy, and the Japanese systems that I was taught by my mentor in Japan for over 35 years now. And what I've integrated into is the ancient systems always had a self-help part to them, whereas you go to a practitioner and that hasn't got that aspect to it. And I want to empower people to understand how simple the system is. You can do it in a very short space of time. It's easy teachable, and we've got many levels inside of that, depending on your enthusiasm. Yeah,
and one of the newest levels that we've created is obviously we've got the book, the Active Balance book, that teaches you some self-help techniques, but we've now got Rochelle guiding you through some of those self-help techniques on a weekly basis in the Active Balance floor classes.
So I've come in quite recently to do some online classes, which I think is really effective for those at home who maybe know nothing about body alignment. So I feel like I'm kind of the middleman of bridging people who have a lot of knowledge in this industry to people who know absolutely nothing. So my job is to really just allow you to do simple movements through guidance. You don't have to know exactly where every organ is or how it works in the body, but you just need to follow small, simple steps that will allow you to just feel a difference by the end of the session. And as long as you have felt that difference, then it'll be something that you want to incorporate in your everyday life.
And the good thing about the classes is it's very easy to follow, it's very simple, it's very safe, and the results will be actually felt within the first session, which would last you 45 minutes. You will actually feel the benefits in that time scale, which is
definitely
nice.
Yeah. And I think like that's the difference of just watching a video online that might be heavy on context, or you're just getting talked at. With these videos, they're really interactive, so you actually get to feel that sense of regulation by the end of the class. And I think it's really about you as an individual being able to have that feeling, because then it's something that you want to progress and move forward with. I think you have to have that feeling yourself and embody it to want to do more.
And that empowerment actually shows that the body is self-regulatory, and we can actually take charge of that and understand some of the symptoms we've got. The cause is always misalignment, energy leakage, postural integration, and that's what this really addresses well.
I think an important point there is that even though the class might seem very simple to follow along to, and some of the things that we're doing are very simple, we're actually doing quite a lot. We're freeing off nerves, we're freeing off energy meridians, we're realigning joints, rebalancing muscles, myofascia. So actually it's a very powerful techniques that we're doing, even though it's guided very simply, and that you can do from your home after you've had a hard day's work, or even help performance and recovery.
Mm-hmm. I remember writing in the Green Book in 1989, the Green Book of Body-Mind Integration, simple things are simply seen but rarely understood. And this is really powerful. It's very simple to do, but it's very powerful because you're releasing the body's potential. You're not actually pressing to get a response. You're releasing potential in the body.
And I think the unfortunate thing is we don't really get taught this knowledge, and we often looking externally, seeking validation, help from other organisations, doctors, when we can actually embody this work ourselves. But because we have maybe never had this knowledge before, and I know a lot of people who are coming into contact with are shocked and really surprised by the work that we're doing, because they've never seen it before and they've never been told or in an environment where they've felt safe to think, yeah, I can do this myself at home as well. So it's really effective.
And most people come to any kind of class or a practitioner, the major complaint is stiffness or pain. And what they don't realise is that when we realign and make the energy flows better, and just pressing on tissue rehydrates it, which allows the nerves to communicate better with the body. Mm-hmm. So even pressure, it's been used for thousands of years, but it is not understood fully and should be.
I know we were just talking just off camera there about some of these ancient concepts all coming from the same origin, and now we've sort of trying to bring those back into modern life so that people can help to reset their bodies, reset their minds, because we're more stressed, I think, than ever before. So simple things that you can do at home or guided in a class or go to a practitioner actually help to bring the body back to alignment, well-being.
Yeah, and the ancient systems, both records in China and Japan, show that the practitioners there made the patient, for want of a better word, part of the treatment program. So you didn't go to someone and get pressure here or manipulation or this. They would include you in that, which is self-empowering, and we've really lost that now. So it all started with a monk called Bodhidharma, who basically came down from Tibet and taught the monks meditation and movement, which became, in some countries, the Kung Fu's in China, and it came down through India, became the yogas, it came down through Okinawa and Japan and became the karate systems. But it all started off as a health system, and the basic thing was preservation of the self. So the school that Hatsumi bestowed on us, the Menkyo Kaden teaching rights, is a school of self-preservation. So it's just not a self-defense school, it's defense of the self by understanding the body and incorporating these processes in that.
Yeah, and yourself, Rochelle, coming from a yoga background, it must be brilliant for you helping the people to find that connection with themselves, and now obviously with the knowledge of active balance, helping people to become back in tune with their bodies, reconnect with their bodies, and figure out and find simple things that can help themselves.
100%, and I think that people are walking around with so many injuries and not feeling regulated, and I think this modality really helps people to find that there is a way to help yourself. I think with this method it really helps you to tune into the living, breathing body and actually slow down and tune in, because for some people they might look at this program and think, well, I've never did yoga before, I've never did any sort of body alignment before, I haven't travelled to Japan or here or there, and I haven't got hardly any knowledge, and that might put some people off. But in reality, I think that the structure that we have created is for the everyday person, for the person who's been in pain for 20 years, for the person who's had trauma that they've never dealt with for 40 years. It can be from any situation. That's the good thing about this program, is we're not just targeting the gym people or the people who may have had a certain injury. This specific program is actually for everybody, and I feel like that's why it works, because we can start from you and then build on from that, from these small little methods that we're incorporating in our online practices, to then develop slowly over from whenever you begin.
And the whole concept is based on what we call the triad of health. So you've got structural health, you've got emotional health, and you've got chemical health or nutritional health. And we encompass all three, because a deficiency of one can cause a problem in the other. And so you need this integrated approach that really works. And as you can see in the workbook, we've simplified it down, and that's what's my 50 years of experience have brought it down to a condensed version that's very simple and easy to do and safe, that empowers you to understand how your body works and how to make some good corrections.
100%, and not just forcing or pushing any of the things that we're offering. It's kind of a really slow process at your own pace, which I think works really well. For example, if I'm teaching yoga, I always say it's not about the highest leg in the room. That's not why we're here. Never. And everyone has their own modifications, and the goal really is to just find that regulation, so you get to that point where you just take a deep breath in and out and you're like, oh, I feel present. Yeah,
it produces what we call positive anchors. So you don't have to sit and do your whole breath set. You know, you could be sat at a station waiting for a bus or something, and Your vagus nerve all calms down because you've regulated to do that.
Yeah, like these tools don't have to be in the studio or on mats or in a certain place. These tools, you can find ones that might work while the kettle is boiling, or you're on the toilet, or you're in bed and you might not be able to sleep. Like it's for any time of the day, really.
They're all quick release, and they all work very effectively. And what you find after a wee while is that you understand your own distortion. So certain things will stress you out, and certain things will be more beneficial for correcting that stress. So you end up your own prescription that basically 10 minutes a day is enough to keep that right. And then sometimes a bit of a longer session, but 10 minutes a day is all it actually takes to keep yourself regulated.
Yeah, which is a brilliant point, because I know we've got a lot of people coming to receive therapy. But the more involved the person can become themselves, they start to understand their own bodies, what they're doing wrong posturally, one-sided habits, sports, old injuries, where their old strain patterns might be, and then how to start to look after themselves in a better way.
Yeah. Even walking barefoot or rolling your foot on a ball or changing your footwear can make a huge difference. It's just understanding all of these things that we research, all of that thing that makes the body aligned. Basically, gravity pushes us down, but we respond to gravity through our feet. So a misalignment from an old sprained ankle coming through a knee can cause energy leakage and compensations that you think is a bad knee problem, and it's not. It's an alignment problem. And once you know how to realign, very simply, you're going to get those benefits.
Yeah, which is basically one of the main reasons why we've created the Active Balance Flow sessions, is to give people a really accessible way to be able to start very simply by being guided through some of the techniques in the book, things that they can do in their own time in between the sessions and support themselves and improve their well-being. But if they wanted to progress from there, you can find a practitioner that's local to you, or you can learn some simple techniques on how to help your friends or your family, or you can actually become a practitioner yourself and start to train in this method.
That's right. And become an instructor, so you can actually take classes and do one-to-ones, so you can build your practice that way. But even as a self-help protective mechanism for your own family, it's invaluable. You know, I've used it on my family all my life, and people who've learnt the system, they're using it on theirs, and they've now got a family system without having to be a chiropractor or an osteopath or highly qualified. It's because it's simple. The places you press in cause the release, cause the balance to realign, and that's the big thing. It's so simple.
I think it's so important as well. I read this quote the other day, and it said, a true teacher leads you back to yourself. And I think that the methods that Active Balance use are just so important in regards to, you can take that control back, like while they're still living, and it's empowering. Like you said, it's not just going for a massage and after you feel momentarily great. This is something that you're giving yourself as maybe a form of self-love, keeping yourself in check. And I think that's really important, especially even in my own yoga practice, to my own students. I always try to empower them. So if I was to move away, or if I was going and having different plans that weren't dependent on me, my goal, which is why I really align with Active Balance, is because it's really enriching and it lets people gain that power back from themselves, whereas you don't need to go externally, because you think, actually, I know what's wrong with me. It's something going on with my left knee or my right foot, because you start to get those small little nuggets of information and you start to put pieces together, which you feel great about because you've worked it out yourself, and you're not just going to this doctor, that chiropractor, this therapist. You're like, actually, I know exactly what's wrong with my body because I know how this program works, because it's informed me enough to feel confident, and then even get to the point where you're sharing it with your family like you have. And that's how I feel like it's so effective.
Yeah, you're right about that statement from a teacher. One that I use is the best teacher in the world inspires somebody else.
Yeah.
And if we can inspire you to understand that this simple method can help you, then that's the sort of empowerment we want to share with you.
And some of it's just a little bit of brief on the history, is that's how it always was back in the traditional systems. People would work on themselves and the family members.
Absolutely.
As well.
In the old Japanese system, they had a system which was called anmo, which basically means push-pull. And some member of the family, so they might be out on the farm working all day and come back in, and one member of the family would actually balance the others. But they also know how to press themselves. So if you had a headache, a very important point here, if you press that point and your headache went, you don't have to take a tablet. You know, your body can be dehydrated, and you understand these things, or you've got a range of motion loss on your ankle. That's going to lead to a foot problem. And once you correct that very, very simply and start to understand the power of alignment and the power of that energy and nerve flow then all communicate with the body makes a big difference. And even the exercise themselves, we're not pushing against resistance. So if you come with stiffness, we address alignment. And that's the big thing, understanding that. People try to stretch stiffness out or work a joint or strengthen it, and alignment is actually the key answer.
Which is another good point, that sometimes where you're actually feeling the discomfort, pain or tension isn't actually where it's coming from. So as you're guided through these techniques, you might find tensions that you didn't know were there somewhere else in your body that's actually responsible for where you're getting pain, inflammation or discomfort.
Yeah. Compensation is where the body's leaking out with its effect to balance against gravity. And compensation is where you're going to get the inflammation and the pain, but it's not, certainly not where it's coming from. A lot of it comes from the feet, and understanding the foot. That's why we start with the feet, is our foundation.
Yeah, so I was a little bit ill over Christmas time. So they thought I had a chest infection, and then they said that it was glandular fever. And they gave me antibiotics. It didn't seem to work. I was just exhausted. And then I ended up coming to Chrissy and Dennis and getting a balance. And we worked in a lot of pressure points around the neck, and Dennis also gave me some videos to use at home. And the difference just from that one balance after weeks of feeling really unwell was just I've got no words. It was just amazing. It was like I could feel like drainage coming out through the lymphatics in the neck. I felt like I could breathe better. And also, even aside from that, they were giving me really good self-help tips that were quite well known like 100 years ago for like natural remedies at home and all of this sort of stuff. It's like a whole body process. So I went to them, I got the protocol, I felt amazing. And then the small cues that they gave me to do myself at home made a huge difference as well. Like even the natural drinks, the supplements that they recommended, that they'd researched through their programme.
Even just this morning, I'm looking on Facebook about drinking from a copper cup.
Yeah.
You know, and 100 years ago, all our utensils were copper. They used them in hospitals. They had copper jugs and everything. They had cotton sheets, and all of these things are gone. And we need to reintroduce those. So what Active Balance is an eclectic system that incorporates everything that's natural, and we've tried and tested it out and researched it and put it all in one place to bring back some of these age-old remedies that old mothers' remedies really worked, and we need to look back at history.
So someone coming to Active Balance brand new, what sort of experience would they expect to get from a class or from a therapy session with one of our trained practitioners?
So for the online Active Balance class, it's for pretty much absolutely anybody. From complete beginners to those who might have a background in some sort of wellness industry. It's all fully guided for the everyday person, put in a very simple way, so that basically even a 10-year-old child would be able to follow along with it. It's that simple, but really effective. So we start off with a little bit of breath work, which gets us away from whatever we've been doing that day, because I think it's so important to be in the present moment, because when we're still externally stimulated, we're often maybe in fight or flight, still stressed, still thinking about maybe an argument we had in the morning. So we start by a little bit of groundwork, just allowing the body just to come into the practice. And then we start to come out of the head a little bit, so we can actually start to feel, which is one of the most important parts of learning this process, because we have to start from that point to understand how our own patterns and bodies work. So we start by a little bit of breath work, and then we go on to some movements. Again, not too heavy on the theory side. It's more of a follow along interactive session, and I'll just guide you to the points that we're pressing or the body parts that we're moving. We do some sitting down and standing postures through the different pressure points and movements. And there's also variations available for those who actually can't stand up, so we offer seated positions, which is great as well. And we end with a little bit of a meditation, just to integrate all of the energy from the class and just to feel the after effects of what we're doing, because it's really important. I think we need to know why we're doing what we're doing, and we need to feel that benefit ourselves, because I think that's what makes us want to come back. That's especially what I learned from my own practice.
And what the classes offer is you will get definitely good benefits. Even in one 45-minute session, you will feel the difference. But some of your problems might be deeper, and that's where the practitioner might come in, because they can align you firstly and also show you your prescription for you, and then you can benefit more from a class. So we advise going to a practitioner if you've got a deep problem, because they can help you understand that and give you a better guidance that way, and also guide you through the book, which has lots of QR codes in, lots of videos. So there's lots of simple explanations, and just understanding that you can actually do these things to yourself, but a balance does help to start that journey off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and basically as we're working through the classes or in a therapy session, we're actually working through the body on some really key vulnerable places, in the sense that if they go out of balance, it can cause compensations, pain, pressure on nerves, pressure on joints that a lot of the time cause the problems and pains that people are getting.
Mm-hmm. The body is kept upright by neurology, so our brain is telling us where posture is. We don't say this muscle's got to be this tight, I've got to walk like this and move like that. It's all automated. But when it's compensated, that neurology gets confused, and that confusion causes compensations. Those compensations cause the pain. So if you can see, we've got to always come back to alignment to get that answer. And a lot of therapies don't address the whole body all of the time, and certainly don't give you the self-help. And so I say with active balance 50-50. You know, I can guide your body through this to alignment, but I can also show you how to maintain it. So our clients are happier that in between a session that they can maintain themselves. Simple things like gardener's back. You can come in and not just have a bad back, a bath, or a stretch. You're going to go to something key that will actually relieve those symptoms for you, and then you understand A, what's caused the problem, and B, how much empowerment you can actually achieve from the system.
The goal really is to just find that regulation, so you get to that point where you just take a deep breath in and out and you're like, oh, I feel present.
Yeah, it produces what we call positive anchors, so you don't have to sit and do your whole breath set. You know, you could be sat at a station waiting for a bus or something, and your vagus nerve all calms down because you've regulated to do that.
Yeah, like these tools don't have to be in the studio or on mats or in a certain place.
Is that you understand your own distortion, so certain things will stress you out and certain things will be more beneficial for correcting that stress. So you end up your own prescription. So a misalignment from an old sprained ankle coming through a knee can cause energy leakage and compensations that you think is a bad knee problem, and it's not. It's an alignment problem. And once you know how to realign, very simply, you're going to get those benefits.
I think that the methods that Active Balance use are just so important in regards to, you can take that control back, and it's empowering, like you said. This is something that you're giving yourself, keeping yourself in check.
Compensation is where the body's leaking out with its effect to balance against gravity, and compensation is where you're going to get the inflammation and the pain, but it's not, certainly not where it's coming from.